because they have a little higher interest rate. So the other thing I'll just point out on the page prior to that, that bottom left-hand little box, from March 17 through September of 18, we've got basically a $77 million budget for room tax collection and roughly a $77 million collection of room tax. So you can budget for me anytime. So.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Okay, we'll open agenda item 7.
There, I came in the middle of this. Oh, sorry, I had to take care of some other bit, but they went over the room tax, although they didn't deal with why there was no October reporting for the room tax, and there's much made of the waterfall and the interest gain on the proceeds of $548 million, which is fine, but when they stop paying the Raiders their pay-go and the debt service comes due next year, there's going to be a different story here, okay?
Goal as set forth in Senate Bill 1 was 15%. The current participation rate is 18%, which is 3 percentage points higher. Approximately $776 million of the work has been awarded, with $133 million currently committed to small business enterprise firms. 57 small business enterprise firms have been awarded work, with 23 of those firms receiving multiple contracts. 14 different minority and women business enterprises have been awarded work overall, and roughly 73% of all the firms awarded work is going to Nevada-based firms. In terms of overall workforce diversity, there was a goal that 38% of the workforce be either minority and or female. Today, that number is 69% of the people that are working on the project and are either minority and or female workers. That's a full 31% higher than the projected target. And that is with approximately 670, let's call it 672,000 hours worked through September in terms of trade activity and actual work at the site, which is a terrific level relative to the preliminary expectations. The Raiders and Stadco continue to be active relative to community engagement as well as community outreach. They have sent solicitation notices out to community organizations, trying to increase the notice and making everyone aware of what projects are available and what packages are available to bid on. They have worked recently with 3 Square Food Bank and are participated in the Clark County Business Expo that's going on, and continue to do many more of those things as we've talked about in recent months. I know Chairman Evans from that committee is working on scheduling the next meeting, which they will have once every quarter, and we look forward to seeing continued information relative to this. But as of today, that's the status of that report.
Mr. Evans, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Jeremy stole my thunder, but it's all good. What I just want to make sure that I do on the record is just say that we did meet and we passed a resolution on behalf of the group that substantiates what Mr. Arguello mentioned, the fact that we're not only meeting, but we're exceeding the goals per Senate Bill 1. And in addition to that, we'll continue to monitor progress as we move forward, but positive today. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Anybody else? Okay. We'll close agenda item 7, open agenda item 8.
Mr. Chairman, agenda item 8 is an update from Las Vegas Stadium Events Company relative to the progress of the NFL Stadium project. Mr. Webb is here with
coming to board meetings. So I think it's important that we retain Mr. Taberti's experience on this board, experience in the industry, experience with this project, and the expertise that goes along with that. If anybody would like to make a motion to that effect, I would entertain
motion
that.
To appoint Tito Taberti.
Ken Evans, second.
And before we get too far down the road, Mr. Guerrero is trying to weigh in.
And I don't mean to take you off track. I just want to make sure that we're doing this exactly the way we need to. As part of this process, the Stadium Authority Board is required to solicit the input of really the Raiders as the NFL team, and Stadco is the developer, which is the same thing. Staff did reach out to the Raiders organization and Stadco, who indicated that they would be providing one name and one name only, which was Tito Taberti, and expressed their appreciation for all of the effort he's made going forward. So I wanted to make sure that it's clear that their recommendation is Mr. Taberti.
Thank you, Mr. Guerrero. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Thank you. Appreciate all you've done, Tito. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to postpone agenda item 10. That will probably be back for the January meeting. And we'll open agenda item 11. I'll turn it over to Mr. Guerrero.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Agenda item 11 is the Clark County Department of Finance report for the quarterly economic survey. You've seen this come across. I'll just put a couple of points on the record. This is on tab 11 in your board binders. Question number 2 notes that assessed valuation has exceeded 10% over the past couple of years. We have to indicate that if it's the case. Question number 14 shows the previous and current year fund balances. This amount is the budgeted fund balance that you had approved previously. Question 15 shows the previous and current year cash balances. You'll note that this number is higher than the budget balance in 14 because there are some pending payments that still need to be made. That's just the differential between those two. Please note also at the bottom of page 2, it explains the difference in the ending fund balance between FY 2017, which was $24.4 million, and FY 2018, which was $735,839. This was because capital funds were held in that operating fund 2960 in the balance in the first year. The Stadium Authority Board subsequently created other funds. Those monies have then been transferred over. I again want to express my thanks to Jessica Colvin, Anna Danchek, and their team for their assistance in making sure that we are in compliance and as complete as possible relative to these required state reports. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Guerrero? If not, I would entertain a motion to authorize Clark County Department of Finance to submit the Stadium Authority's quarterly economic survey.
Motion to authorize.
Ken Evans, second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. So we'll open agenda item 12. Is there a member of the public that would like to address the board? Yeah, sure.
Patricia Martinelli Price. One of my questions is because I'm very involved with the veterans in this community, and we have had major job fairs that have been sent out, and we've never seen anybody. And I'm talking about Concerned Veterans of America, Americans for Prosperity. I'm talking about the American Legions, the VFWs, and other entities that are there, Vets Helping Vets. I mean, there's over 500 organizations, and they've not seen anybody from, the construction end of it to come and, do a job fair. We just did a job fair at American Legion. We had the Venetian, we had all the resorts. Plus we had Mr. Bonanno that owns 75 restaurants in this community that actually is also a veteran. So that's my concern myself. I'm not saying that they have not, maybe with the Urban Chamber, the Latin or whatever, but not actually with any of the veteran groups. There's going to be a big fair in a couple of weeks over there in North Las Vegas. Actually at the hospital, it is actually a job fair. And all the casinos will be there. In fact, the Indian Nations are they're going to have a table, a big booth there. And then there's going to be one also at the Venetian, a big fair. So I would like to see more of that participation to get the veterans, especially with the small businesses, because there's some money trickling down from the National Veterans Administration for them for businesses.
Thank
And
you.
job placement, not referrals, job placement. Thank you.
Appreciate you bringing the points. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Shondell Newsom for the record, founder of Some New Marketing and the chairman of the board for the Urban Chamber of Commerce. And I want to compliment you guys on some of these goals of diversity. Years ago, when I was a young marketing director at Station Casinos, I was going to tease Scott a little bit. We were challenged with that internally of making sure that we had diversity in our workforce and diversity in our contracting, and we worked tirelessly to make sure not only that we had the diversity, but we had the skilled force. I mean, and people forget that in the whole process. We work hard to make sure that our small businesses are prepared. So they're not just showing up and getting a favor. They're actually adding value to the contract. So I want to make sure that we make that clear, that it's not a situation of a handout. When I testified during the special session that we should have this as part of an inclusion package of 15% for small businesses, I said that these small businesses would keep us on time and under budget. So keep those taglines going, right? They were not there to slow things down. They were not there to hinder anything. They were there to enhance the experience. And I had the pleasure of working with Mr. Taberti's company with the wastewater project, where we were exceeding a lot of the diversity goals. And I have the pleasure of working with Caesars and Penta on the current convention center and the convention center project. So I don't say that to brag. I'm saying that because I think it's very important that we understand that this diversity and inclusion is not just a tagline or a slogan. It actually is changing lives. And I know my friend Tommy White will agree that when we do Careers in Motion, it changes lives. We recently had that event where we hired 100 and something people in one day who were on the site, got jobs. So I think it's real important that we continue to strive for diversity and inclusion, but not look at it as a caveat, but look at it as an essential part of business development. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Newsom. Anyone else?
Okay. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move, Ken Evans.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Well, folks, that's as much of the Stadium Authority meeting as I was able to get. I again apologize for not being able to
sitting in right now is probably the largest piece of
here to get the
saltgrass
first
meadow.
part of it, but I'll go back and get the documents and actually read the documents online. The documents I'm referring to are the ones that Jeremy Aguilo talked about that had to do with, well, perhaps I can find them right now, that had to do with the project being on schedule and not over budget, save for the change order issue. Now, I will say this, having said that, I have not ever been in a situation where an organization has admitted any flaws in a project as those flaws were unfolding. There was always an effort to, well, show the rosy picture, the rosy scenario. Everything is fine. No darkness here, all light. Here are the documents that were discussed. Stadium Authority Board meeting minutes, project status report, here and here, the room tax revenue. These two, in terms of status reports, are what Jeremy read off. They had some catching up to do because these weren't really read, all right? They talked about, basically what he did was he read off, Jeremy did, what you see here. The project schedule was unchanged during the period. Substantial completion of the project is anticipated on or before July 31st, 2020, okay? And then talked about the project contingency. The stadium project contingency decreased by $2.8 million. It stands at $104 million. This includes a contingency of $91.6 million, systems and equipment, infrastructure, so on. Then talked about the change orders, said that they increased to $1.6 million and currently total $3.2 million, which isn't bad. It says the October change order offers a modification to the build-up layers in the stadium's ETFE roofing system. The construction monitor recommends acceptance of this change order, noting that the scope of work and dollar amounts appear reasonable. Changes do not substantially change the quality of the project. There are no required time extensions. So then, of course, there's he read this also. All Jeremy did was read on air. All Jeremy did was read on air this, which you can refer to if you wish. Okay, but there is this matter then of the room tax, which was only glossed over. Okay, this is the project status report. This is the budget, the contingency. All right, that's the project budget there. Okay, and this is project completed during today. But what this doesn't show is, in this case, when the Raiders took over payments. I'll go back. This is the bank. Now, for those of you asking if Bank of America provided their credit facility, they did. It's so shown right here. Okay, 101 million, and here are the disbursement areas here. These are the PSL revenues. Okay, it's supposed to total 250 million from the Raiders. Okay, and this is far from done. I'll focus on this later. Other funds are blank. Total amount funded this period. They have this cumulative amount funded to date is 448,473,771. So they've got a long way to go, as you can see. So you've got all these dates that are outstanding. This is estimated total to date, okay, for the project. Now, what this doesn't include is parking. All right, so this is not the whole project. It doesn't include parking and other off-site infrastructure costs. So keep that in mind. This is also the NFL G4 facility. So, having said that, this is a good breakdown that helps shed a light on some issues that were outstanding, at least in my mind. Now, this, however, is the big enchilada problem. I talked about it before. I'll talk about it again, and I'll zero in on the problem. And the problem is right here. Okay, budget 76 million, actual 77 million. The difference is only $467,000. We have money shown for September, right? But not October. So you have it for fiscal year 2018, but not fiscal year 2019. It's blank. All right. So so that's monthly revenues. Look at that. For October last year, fiscal year 2018 was last year. Fiscal year. Note that, okay? Now here it's blank. Fiscal year 2018 last year was 4.3 million. Here it's 3.8 million. We don't have anything for October. Here it's already November. Here's the difference. Okay? Note that difference. And that difference just happens to be the difference down here. Actually close to it, rather. Not exactly that, okay? But my point is that we don't have any information for October, so we really, and this was never dealt with, we don't know what at all. We don't at all know what the Stadium Authority's budget really looks like, because there is that information out there that hasn't been installed. This, as I speak to you, it's November 14th. It should, in the past, it's come out like the second week of the month. So this is, to my mind, a bit of a concern, okay? That they're behind. And not only that, remember, this is the first stadium hotel room tax report we've seen in total in 3 months, actually over 3 months, right? So, and why it was slow, I think, has to do with, it could be staffing issues. I would think also compensation issues that are rightly the concern of applied analysis, because applied analysis doesn't really do this sort of work. They have been dutifully working as an accounting firm as a public management firm when they're really an economic analysis firm. That just shows you where this project came from. And even though I have a beef with him, how the extraordinary work that Jeremy Arguello has done. And the beef is basically I called him asking about basically the room tax issue. This was 8 months ago, and he was laughing at me saying, oh, there's no problem with the room tax issue. And I was trying to ask him questions. He's on the phone. He's, folks, I'm telling you this. Don't treat people like that, okay? Because how do I know? I don't know the man. How do I know that it could be? I mean, I don't know what is in a person's mind where they would choose to be disrespectful to someone else. But I'm saying that in this business, in this modern age, where you have people like myself talking to you on the video, cameras everywhere to pick up what actually happens in society, how people actually behave, be sure to be on your best behavior with people, even when you think the cameras are not there, because the person will talk about it. The main issue that I have with this project is that you're supposed to sell your idea. You're not supposed to ask people to automatically just get behind what you're doing and just bless it and say, that's it, we're with you, and we're not going to ask any questions. In something as sensitive as this, where you're taking what a number of people regard as a part of the public trust, the Oakland Raiders, and moving them to another city, you better have your explanational I's dotted and T's crossed, and you should be able to go out and gain allies of people who are against what you're trying to do, not just diss them. Mark Davis has went out and argued with fans. This is noted on video on a number of occasions. The team has been, in a number of occasions and instances, openly hostile to fans who didn't like the move, rather than trying to sell them. What good does that do anybody? Nobody. It just creates a group of people who are going to then turn around and find anything wrong with the project behind something that's constructive. I told then Clark County Commissioner Steve Sisolak, now Nevada Governor Steve Sisolak, I said, if you add up all of the criticisms I made about the project, they're fixable matters. That means if you pay attention to what I say, you get a better project. What intelligent person, what reasonable thinking person, what smart person would not go along with that? Instead, with respect to this project, we've had very little of that and a lot of tribalism. And that's the fault of the Raiders. You don't need to pick fights with people. You don't need to insult people. You don't need to make people who have backgrounds in urban planning and who've worked in politics and government for many, many years, who just in this case happen to have their own media company, feel like, hey, you know what? I'm going to show you that there are aspects of your own project that you don't understand and want to admit. Like, for example, your room tax. I said over a year ago that the 88/100ths of 1% room tax was too small. All I ever got were people telling me I was wrong, I didn't know what I was talking about, even when I would show them numbers for public view. And now the money comes in and it's quite obvious, hey folks, I was right, all right? But rather than say, you know what, Zinni was right, they don't want to say anything about that because they don't want to be caught admitting that that a black guy proved them wrong. There's a lot of that there, folks. There's a lot of that racial symbolism here. It's sad that in this year, 2018, we still have that mentality, and I'm doing this because it's freaking nuts. Racism is a mental illness, but it's there. If you take, I learned this a long time ago, you never, ever assume that the person in the room who may not look like they have the answer doesn't have the answer. That's how we got the rise of the nerds, right? Remember how the nerds would never get the girls and everything? But hey, turned around, the nerds created all this tech that we use today, and they're fabulous, and nerds are fabulously rich, and it's changed how people think about nerd culture. Now being a nerd is a great thing. Now, okay, need I say more? You get the idea, all right? So, as well as the fact that I'm really exercised about how the Raiders have handled this project. And again, it's the Raiders' fault for not trying to establish goodwill with everybody. That's what you do. You don't choose up sides. You don't piss people off. You don't make people upset with you. You sell them. If you believe that what you're doing is right in your heart, if you believe that Las Vegas is a better place, go to the people that have the greatest objection to what you're doing and sell them. Sell them until the cows come home. Don't just pick certain people to talk to, because Mark's done that. You sell everybody. You sell me. You don't tell me, oh, I don't want to talk to you. I'm thinking, okay, fine. You don't have to talk to me. But I will do the talking and I will do the analyzing. All right? So as I've said before, and I wrote Mark Bourdain an email to this effect. I said, hey, you know what? I felt that the reason you all didn't sit down and talk with me after Mark Davis asked me to come up with my stadium plan was because I'm black. You know, there's this tableau where, oh, he's, you know, can't possibly know what he's talking about, when, in point of fact, I got Piper Jaffray, investment banker. I found out from someone else that the Raiders barely had a sit down or talk to with Ronnie Lott. But how do I know it's not for the same reasons? Well, he's just an athlete, a black athlete. He can't possibly have the answer, all right? That, folks, is wrong, okay? It will cost you in the end. You never doubt anybody, ever. The Warriors, the Golden State Warriors don't do this. They had an intern, I think they had some sort of idea regarding personnel use and scheme. They not only used the intern's idea, they mentioned that it came from the intern. It's pretty good, okay? That's the way every organization should be. So this is a discussion of how to manage an organization that has a high public visibility in a complex society that has a hyper media component attached to it. That's what we're talking about. If the Raiders had handled this differently, you would have had everybody singing their tune all the way to Las Vegas and knowing why, even detractors. Right now, you don't have that. The mayor of Oakland, Elihu Harris, former mayor of Oakland, was on my show last night. You may have heard it. He said he hopes they fail. Elihu had said that out of his mouth. Now, I don't hope the Raiders fail, because the Raiders' failure in Las Vegas means that thousands of people are negatively impacted that should not be. You understand what I'm saying? Should not be. So no, I want the Raiders to be successful for Las Vegas, a city I love dearly, which really does deserve it, okay? It really does. So, no, the Raiders have to get this right. Clark County has to get this right. And not only that, I want to say, I've sung his praises more than once. Guy Hobbs is a great guy. Were it not for people like Guy Hobbs, who is antithetical in his behavior toward me with respect to Jeremy Aguilo, I would have found more ways to torch the project. But Guy Hobbs, who is the financial advisor for the project of Hobbs Ong, is a mensch. He's a great person, a person that if he were running for office and said, Zenny, I need your help, I'd be right there, okay? That's how I feel about Guy Hobbs. I haven't met him in person yet. I owe him dinner. I haven't forgot it, okay? That's what I'm saying. It's when a person is like that, when they're nice to you, you don't forget it. So my point is this, and I want everybody to hear this. You be nice to people. You know, you don't act like you have it all in the cards and that everything is there. You respect where they're coming from. You hear them. You respond to their concerns. And you express personal interest in how they're doing. That is how you get big projects like this through without any rancor or threat of lawsuit whatsoever. All right. I got to get going, folks. I'll see you all. Thanks for tuning in. And please, if you haven't done so before, subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube. All right.